Hey guys, so if you just watched the video that I had up online, it kind of is a basic introduction to counting rhythms. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in my video. Basically, I'm going to use a common time that we see in music, 4/4, which means, you should know by now, that that top number is telling us that there are 4 beats in every measure, okay? Now, when you were in elementary school, you may have clapped rhythms and said, ta, ta, ti, ti, ta, or 2, 2, ta, 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 ti, ti, shh, shh. And you would have done the shushes for the rest, of course. But what we're going to do is in middle school and high school, we use numbers to count, okay? And so we're going to just take a look at that. Now, this looks a little bit differently from the previous video because I use something called beat bars. So this is the steady beat. And remember, we only get how many beats in every measure? 4, then a bar line. 4, then a bar line. 4, then a bar line. So this is how the steady beat goes. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I stop because it's a double bar line. We're going to go back in and we're going to add some notes. I'm going to start with those quarter notes. And remember, each quarter note takes up 1 beat. Its value is 1 beat, so each beat bar can only hold 1 quarter note. Okay? Now it could hold, each beat could also hold 1/8 notes or 16th notes, but we'll get to that in a minute. Okay? So we have quarter notes. We have 4, that's filling up our measure with 4, we're good. If we go to half notes, okay, I'm going to put a half note on my very first beat. This is beat 1. But remember, a half note takes 2 beats. So that half note is going to last for those 2 beats. It's going to last through beats 1 and 2. So I'm just going to draw a squiggly arrow here to show you that the sound is carrying through the second beat. Then here, I'm going to put another half note and another squiggly line to show that my half note is lasting through beat 3 and beat 4. This is beat 1, beat 2, beat 3, beat 4, okay? This is the same kind of principle if you have something like a whole note or even a whole rest. A whole note gets 4 beats, so the sound is going to last through all 4 beats, okay? All 4. So this is why you can't put a whole note on that beat of that measure, because that means it would only take up 2 beats going forward. You don't go backwards in music. So that whole note needs 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. You can't carry it across the line. So that won't work. A whole note has to go on beat 1, okay? We could do the same thing with rest. This is a quartered rest. It takes up 1 beat. I could stick a half rest on this beat, beat number 2, but remember, a half rest is also going to get 2 beats, but it's 2 beats of silence. So that silence is lasting through 2 beats, 1, 2, okay? And then I have 1 beat left. I could put something on there that is worth 1 beat. So I'm just going to stick a quarter note back there. Now, when we have something like 1/8 notes, remember that it takes 2 to fill up a beat. So, and if you have 2, they're beamed together. So I can put 2 on a beat. But what happens then is you have to put an and, we say an and, on the second note in each pair. So this is beat 1, so I'm going to say 1 on the first 1/8 note and on the second. This is beat 2, I'll say 2 on that 1/8 note and an and here. This is 3 and I can go on and put another pair here and put 4 and. That's what I would say as I clapped, okay? Here, I'm just going to count 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here it would also be 1, 2, 3, 4. It's when we get, notice that all I'm doing is counting in 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. When I get to eighth notes, when I have more than one note on a beat, that's where I've got to add the and in, okay? Same thing with 16th notes. We're not going to spend a lot of time on 16th notes, and he showed you on the video, but remember you can fit 4 16th notes on a beat. And what happens then is the first note is 1, E, and Then if you had, let's say you had another set of 4 on this beat, that would be 2 E and okay? But we are not going to spend time on 16th notes. That's a little bit above our level right now if we're doing an introduction to music, okay? But what I am going to do is I'm going to use some of my notes and rests, and I'm going to create this last measure. So I'm going to put a quarter note on the first beat of the last measure. Then I'm going to put a half note, and then I'm going to end with a pair of eighth notes. The way I would say this, if I were going to clap this rhythm, is 1, 2, 3, 4, and, okay? Now notice, okay, that remember, when we have notes that take up more than one beat, and let's look at where those are. I've got a note here that takes up more than one beat. I have a note here that takes up more than one beat. I've got a whole note here that takes up more than one beat. Here I've got a half rest that takes up more than one beat. And here I have a half note that takes more than one beat. What happens on those is when I'm clapping a rhythm, I just hold it out. So what happens is you're going to clap on the actual note, and then you just hold it out. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you just clap on the beat bars where those notes are falling. Same thing for a whole note. I'm just going to clap on beat 1 and hold it out as I count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm only clapping on the beat bar where that note appears. Okay? If I have rests, what I like to do is I throw my hands out like this because it's opposite of clapping. So I've trained myself to do that so that I'm not clapping where I'm not supposed to. So you don't clap here on beat 1, 2, or 3 because those are rests. Okay, so I'm going to clap this rhythm, and I want you to pay attention to what I'm doing. And then we're going to go back and do it a second time, and I want you to clap along with me. 1, 2, I'm clapping by myself. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, holding it out. 3, 4. Rest, rest, rest. 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and. This is probably going to be tricky. You have to clap 2 times because there are 2 notes on the beat. You clap here and here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay, let's go back. You do it with me. 1, 2, ready and clap. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Here's our whole note. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back to rest, 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 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4 and. Okay? So that's just a basic intro on counting and reading rhythms.